Welcome to Palolem in southern Goa. So this is the next stop of this adventure, and at this point in real life, not on the YouTube world, but in the real life, you've not heard from me for 2 weeks, because after my time in Gokarna, I headed to northern Goa and I took a taxi to Arambol. This beach, by the way, is amazing. Very beautiful. My first time here. So yeah, I took a taxi to Arambol with some friends and I spent a few days there. And if you watch the channel or you've looked back through the old videos, you'll know that I spent almost 2 months in Arambol last year. So I do have some videos from there on the channel already. And so I made a decision to not repeat and go over old ground. And I just enjoyed the time for myself with my friends. It's dog here. Going for a dip. Yeah, so I just enjoyed the time for myself. And it was great. However, I did see Arambol in a different light. Look at this place, it's so beautiful. I saw Arambol in a different light. It was very busy, very noisy. I was there at the same time that I was last year, so I can't put any of the difference down to it being peak season or anything like that. It was just, I found it. Hope you're not following me, I don't know who you are. Yeah, I generally just felt like it had got a lot more popular. So after a few days, I came down the coast, took another taxi. I think it took around 3 hours, and I've come to Palolem, which is kind of right in the south Goa. I've been here now at this point for a week already. It's been relaxing, catching up on some photos and some editing, and now I'm ready to start sharing with you. So rather than speaking about Palolem itself, what I wanted to kind of just speak with you about in this video, because I've had this conversation with quite a few friends actually this week, and it's the idea of traveling kind of maybe as a bit of an older person, because in the last few days I've had my birthday and I've turned the grand old age of 36. Now I don't feel old, I feel young and healthy. Feel, you know, full of energy. But the debate comes up with people about, are you at a point in your life, not from a physical standpoint, but where you should be from a career point, from a relationship point, financial, career-wise, all of these different things. Do you own a house? And the idea of traveling in your 30s, particularly your late 30s, whether it's a constructive thing to do, whether it's something that you should be doing, whether it's scary. And I can certainly say that for me, I have a very, very strong opinion on it, but it is a constant battle. My opinion is that I was not put on this planet to be sat in a cubicle. Owning a home, having things, those are fantastic. I've got no arguments against it, and if you are of the opinion that that's important, no problem. But for me, I don't want to sacrifice the years of my life, my best years, working to simply pay for things, and then having things and wanting better things because I'm not happy with working to pay for those things, and ended up in this cycle. And I know about it because I've been there. Trust me, I didn't start this kind of traveling until my late 20s. I've been there through my 20s. I felt trapped. I felt like I had these commitments, both financial and in relationships, career-wise, things that kind of tied me down and prevented me from really being free and pursuing things that I wanted to. And so now here I am in my mid to late 30s from a very different standpoint. My priority now is to really kind of embrace life, do these things in my best years, and really kind of invest in experiences so that when I'm older, I'll have all of these life memories. Now, I'm coming from obviously perhaps a different perspective to a lot of people as well, because I've had things happen in my life from a friendship and family standpoint where I've had people die very young. When I say very young, I'm talking particularly in their 30s. My best friend, whilst I was living in Australia, on Christmas Day, had a heart aneurysm at the age of 32. He was dead on the spot. And so moments like that are a very harsh reminder that you really kind of, I know it's cliche, but live every day as if it's your last, because it could be. And so I already have the mentality that I want to enjoy life, live the adventure, as they say. But I'm a realist, I'm a logical person, I'm a thinker, sometimes an overthinker. And I do feel the societal pressure of the negative aspects traveling in your 30s. I feel like perhaps from a financial security point, I am definitely financially irresponsible compared to all my friends. My friends are all very responsible. They own houses, they've got families and children, they're married, they've got investments, and they would look at the kind of life that I live in a very different light. They would think that I was an absolute maniac, because I see my 30s as my best years to see the world. They see their 30s as their best years to set themselves up for their 40s and 50s. So this question of whether it's scary, whether it's right to travel in your 30s, for me it is, for you it might not be. But I definitely do feel the pressure. You know, I feel with every passing year now as I get older, you know, this idea of, am I going to become unemployable? Am I going to burn through my money and have nothing left? Am I going to regret this? I don't agree with any of those things, but they're things that come into your mind naturally. So yeah, is traveling in your 30s right? It depends, but for me it definitely is right, and I'm loving every minute at the grand old age of 36 here in Palolem. So here in Palolem, I notice the difference significantly between here and Arambol is just the sheer number of people, I would say. The beach definitely feels smaller in Arambol. It's a huge stretch, very, very long beach. This is kind of a bit of, it's a large cove, but you can see how it curves around, comes into the distance up here. This is Shark Rock Point or something like that. And then behind here is Patnam. So, it's the sheer number of people. This is much quieter, much more laid back. There are not parties here going on until 5 o'clock in the morning. The Arambol can be a lot of fun, but it can be very heavy, particularly if you're looking just to kind of relax. What I was feeling in Arambol this time was that it was just too much for me. Walking down the road can be very busy. You kind of feel like you're dodging traffic, dodging shop vendors trying to get your attention. So it can kind of be very consuming in terms of your attention. Whereas here, it's very laid back. So this is a popular destination with Indians who come here on holiday, come here for their honeymoons. But honestly, it's not overwhelming at all. It's very nice. You've got all these like cabanas on the beach. So behind here, there's the main road. So you've got these cabanas, You've got places to stay kind of on the main road itself, and there's restaurants all along here. So it's a place that's got really a lot to offer. One thing that I find here in Palolem is that the prices are a little bit more inflated than the likes of Arambol. Perhaps because Arambol's a bigger place, you know, the competition wise, prices tend to stay kind of in line, in favour with the customers, with the foreigners, the tourists, the Indians alike. You know, you can find pretty good accommodation in Arambol very affordably. I was staying in a really nice place actually. Good air conditioning, good Wi-Fi, comfy bed, a little balcony right near the beach, and I was paying £10 a night. Really, really good value. I was very impressed actually. Came here to Palolem, and I'm now staying in the cabana that you saw at the beginning of the video, and I'm getting a discount on that. I'm getting mates rates because I know some people that stayed here previously, and I'm paying 1,500 rupees a night, which give or take is about £15, like $18 or something per night. Again, that's discounted. So there's plenty of hostels here. So if you're a budget traveler, solo traveler, and you want a hostel and a bunk, no problem at all, and you'll find one of them normal prices, you know, £5 a night, something like that. But if you want a private room, a cabana, especially one of a decent standard at least, yeah, I think you kind of be looking anywhere between 15 and 25 pounds a night. So take that into consideration when you come. It's a tiny bit more expensive here than other parts of Goa. As for the food and drinks, they're on par, they seem to be the same. It's just a matter of accommodation. But as you can see, some of the accommodation is really nice. I mean, look at these cabanas here. Really, really of a very good standard. And obviously you've got these amazing views on the beach. So sometimes it's worth paying that a little bit of extra money. That's the way I feel about it. You know, I've always said it on this channel that I don't judge things by price, I judge it by value. And so if I can get a place in Arambol that's £10 a night, if here it's £15 a night, but is, you know, a little bit of a better standard, I don't mind it at all. So my cabana is nice, I'm happy with it. Yeah, very, very, very pretty place. One thing you can see as well, actually strolling down the beach here, is that I'm just being completely left alone. So, you know, you get this stereotype in India that Indians bother foreigners, and some places it does happen, and it certainly happened to me. But I do feel like this part of Goa here, people are just very relaxed. You know, they want to enjoy their holidays as well, and yeah, I haven't been bothered here at all. Nobody's asked for a selfie, nobody's asked or interrupted me whilst I'm doing things. People are very friendly, very nice, so I really like the vibe here. Hey. Alright, we're gonna head back. Just wanted to make a quick video on this. I didn't really want to show Palolem properly. I wanted more to talk about the topic of traveling in your 30s, which I think I've done a pretty disastrous job of. I get distracted very easy. I don't kind of keep my my points in line. I don't like to plan things and organize things and make lists. I kind of just go with what's being said in the moment in my mind. So yeah, back to the topic of traveling in your 30s and if you should do it. I think it's very subjective, and it depends on your own position in life, your own thoughts and feelings. But one thing that I can say after talking to, you know, a lot of my friends, particularly those who are actually here holidaying, a lot of people, you know, have the realization that maybe life back home, their routine, is not really very fulfilling. It's not satisfying their kind of like human needs. It might pay them money, it might cover their bills, pay their rent and their mortgage and their nice car, but a common theme, particularly of those in their 30s, is that they wish for more. And when they come to travel, come on extended holidays, particularly places like this, kind of dawns on them, you know, that maybe there's something a little bit more to life than just pursuing this career, pursuing money, pursuing material objects. So if you're even considering it, even if it's in your mind, you're thinking about it, you don't feel fulfilled, then certainly consider it. I would though say, be very conscious of the implications. What I mean by that is, as fulfilling and incredible as traveling is, there are things that it does to your life, particularly if you come from a country like mine, which will affect you in the long term. So for example, I've now been out of my country for a very long time. In my country, the UK, there's a big obsession with ownership, with owning a house and owning things. And as a result of that and global crises with the economy over the last 20 years, owning said things can be very difficult. You need a lot of money, you need a very secure job, and you need to give your trust or earn your trust with financial institutions. And one way of doing that is by showing and demonstrating that you've been in that country for a long time, that you've been paying your bills for a long time, that you've been in the same job for a long time, and that you've got a lot of money in the bank to cover a deposit. So people in my position who have not been in their country for a long time, have in fact been missing and out in the world for a long time without a registered address, without a job on my tax file. We don't have the trust of the financial institutions, and as a result, if I was to go back to the UK tomorrow, no matter what money I've got in the bank to cover a deposit, they wouldn't give me a mortgage. I wouldn't get a loan, I wouldn't be approved. And so me now at the grand old age of 36, I have a certain opinion about ownership, and I'm not motivated by it at all. For me, it kind of feels very constricting, and I don't want to feel like I'm being trapped. Now, you might argue that I've got a different view to a lot of people, and perhaps my view is flawed. No problem, I get it, you know. But for me, that's my opinion. However, if I was to change my mind, and I decided that I did want to own a house, that would be something that would, right now, for me, be impossible. Thankfully, I'm not of that ilk. I'm not of that thinking. Career-wise, same thing. I've been out of the job market for quite a while. I don't particularly want to be back in the job market. Certainly not in the kind of jobs I've done before. You know, I feel like I want to do something more creative. I love taking photos, and if I was to do anything, I would pursue that. But again, similar to the house situation, if I was going back and I decided to kind of reboot my career, again, I'm lacking a lot of trust with employers. So these are things to seriously consider. If these are huge motivations in your life, ownership and careers, that's where you really ought to consider traveling in your 30s, and decide if it's the right thing to do, or whether you should maybe just take an extended leave, maybe take a few months away. Final point is relationships. Now, this doesn't matter if you're in your 30s or beyond. If you're in a relationship and you want to travel long term, you really better make sure the other person is kind of in line with your thinking. I think traveling can be a very selfish pursuit. In its essence, you know, you're doing something that is important to you, that you're passionate about, and sometimes we travelers can, unfortunately, not intentionally, disregard the other person and their feelings and their thoughts about it. If you're in a serious relationship and you want to travel, very understanding and mindful of the other person's position, because traveling can be damaging to relationships unless you're both in the same way of thinking. Now, to conclude this point, my little token of advice or insight to people who are watching, who are maybe having that conundrum whether they should travel in their 30s or whether they are and they're struggling with their feelings about it. One thing I will say is that I don't regret it at all. For me at the moment, for the last few years, this has been the greatest joy of my life. I've seen things that people can only dream about. I've done things and I've been free. People work their whole lives to retire. I've had my retirement in my 20s and 30s. So I feel very fortunate, and I just feels good to be true with yourself, you know, to do something that is out of the norm perhaps, to be brave and bold and to do something that society's saying that you shouldn't be doing in your 30s. It feels good, you know, you feel like a bit of a maverick. And so, yeah, I would say to people, will you regret doing it? Or will you regret not doing it? For me, I don't regret it at all. I've waffled on loads. I've not done this for a few weeks and even a few months. So I'm going to leave it here. And then in the next video, I'll get back to you with the regular content of showing you the place that I'm in, Palolem and the surrounding areas. I think I'll rent a bike, we'll go check out some waterfalls, some little villages, some local life, we'll have some interactions, I'll show you the food. And on that note, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.